Okay, so I'd like to call to order this meeting of the Greenfield School Committee Budget and Finance Subcommittee on September 30th at 3:31 p.m. I am very sorry for the delay. We were going to start about 15 minutes ago and had difficulties getting on. So first I would like to take a roll call. So myself, I am here, Member Goodwin. Here. And Member Childs.
Here.
Okay, we are all present. And next item on the agenda is public comment. There is no one present in the room for public comments, and I don't see anyone online. So I'm going to carry on to item 3, which is approval of the meeting minutes from our previous 2 meetings, September 10th and July 28th. I would take a motion to approve.
So moved.
I'll second that. Any discussion? Hearing none, I will call a vote on that one. I say yes. Member Goodwin?
Yes.
And Member Childs?
Yes.
Our next item is a post-fiscal year 2025 wrap-up summary from the business manager and discussion about that. This was requested at our July meeting, and so that's why it's on the agenda, and we will let Andy take it away.
So you have the summary. I did it, like, if you remember, I brought to the school committee meeting just the salary portion of 5100 series. And even then, I actually just focused on, I'm going to call it the permanent positions. This now here with the year closed, technically it's not closed, but all our expenses have been charged and encumbered. So this reflects, as of June 30, 25, everything as is. And so I provided more for the salary lines. That's all the salaries, and then also the contracted services, supplies, and those other major categories. So you have that. I did it by those respective categories, and then by the schools or the cost centers. And then just to give you and to show you what it is that it's like as far as I'll say the major changes we had were in the primary areas. If you remember, I kept reporting on the SPED maintenance of effort. So that's where we were looking at the balances that we had in the salaries and reallocated those to make sure that we met our MOE, which is why you'll see the major portions of the district-wide supply being over and the intergovernmental tuitions over as well. That's also combined with the fact that with the savings, I'd say, as much as we don't want to, the vacancy savings we had, we were able to not use some of the revolving accounts that we planned on use. Better prepare ourselves for the future. So again, high level, but it tells the story that we've been kind of telling throughout the like if you remember, I did report last month, like our budget was built on $300,000 of school choice. We actually used $511,859 of school choice. That's the major one. We built the budget on 1.2 million of using circuit breaker. We used 1,380,686. But I'll say again, if you remember, referring to the September meeting stuff, but I did again that kind of multi-year income statement as far as our plan for FY25, what we planned on, what we started the year with, and our projected revenue and projected expenses for FY26. So that there's a wrap up of the local, and then combining it with the status as to how the revolving accounts ended in 26, the major one. Choice, tuition, circuit breaker, transportation, and going forward. Roland and I were just talking before the meeting about, if you harking back to that meeting, we will be using, 3 million and change of what it is that we're starting the year with in our reserves. That's admittedly, before we include what we're collecting for FY26. So, but we're using more and more of those. So that's really it in a nutshell.
Okay.
Anything I can answer would be more than two.
I see Member Childs has a hand up.
Yes, the materials being discussed, are they just from the last meeting, or was there something that I don't have access to?
Is this
Oh,
in
yeah.
the materials that were emailed by Becky?
I don't think Becky, she told me that.
Let me see, have that for you.
I didn't see that.
Yes, Becky,
This is. How do you?
I can,
Do you want to send it to you?
I will send it to her.
Thank you.
Thank you.
On its way.
While Member Childs is having a chance to look at that, Andy, are there any additional loose ends or items that have yet to wrap up from FY25?
Nothing as far as budgetarily goes. Right now, we're just waiting on the city to finally do their formal close of the year for we're required to submit an end of the year people financial report to the state. It's due today, but since it's not closed yet, I've asked for an extension from the Department of Ed. So they always honestly, they grant the 2-month extension. I should be able, once they give me the school side expenses that are paid for on behalf of the schools by the city, it's a day for me to do this report. So we're just waiting on that piece.
Okay. And so you wouldn't expect anything to look substantially different
No.
based on that. Okay. Other questions or discussion? And Member Childs, if you'd like Andy to repeat anything from before, please just chime in.
I think I will just have to re-listen to the meeting once the recording is released while looking at it, because I don't think repeating it for everyone is a good use of time.
Okay.
Obviously, email questions.
Member Goodman, did you have a hand up?
Yeah, I just, the district-wide under contracted services, is that because of the special ed?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah,
I have
okay.
some.
No.
For is to actually, I'd say, yeah, just under 300,000 of that is, you're going to say this,
Effort.
special education, medical therapy, contracted services. And that would also include any site services.
Right.
About those positions.
So I guess, where I'm at is like, can we, like right now you're looking for, I forget, I think it's 5 paras. That's on the website. So instead of being kind of at the end of the year, realizing we didn't make our special ed minimum effort or whatever we're supposed to, kind of address the staffing issue.
If I just clarify, it wasn't just at the end. Mr. Wilson
He knew it was there.
We knew that, we always know the target.
Okay.
It's just a matter of then making sure that, because once the target is known, sometimes it is known after the budget is built.
Okay.
And so it was just a matter of then of being, I'll say, forthright in his planning as to how it is that he would end up meeting that NOE. So.
Okay.
But anyway, so your question around that is still
Trying to, again, we spend a lot of money on psychological evals. I think it would save money to have another we could find one, another school psychologist. I mean, and just looking at,
We have one posted. We're posted and we're looking. I mentioned that at our last school committee. No, I didn't want to get too excited. Posted, I apologize. We did talk about it at the last school committee. And I think it. But
That position's been posted for a while, I believe. I think it's been posted for like a year and a half.
oh, they're all, yeah.
Yeah. And the last that I recall, from a discussion during school committee meeting was the general landscape for hiring of school psychologists is just very bad. Many people with that type of qualification can make a better living working privately, and so they do. And so it's hard to find people willing
To take this,
to
yeah.
accept a public
Right,
school
because the
salary.
pros and cons of everything is, as you mentioned, right, the pros of working from school, whether it's a school schedule, hours, that type of stuff. But with that, come politely, a lower salary versus somebody who is gonna probably work longer and have to run their own business, but they're going to do quite a bit better doing that, you know?
Okay. Those schools end up contracting out.
Yes,
Yeah.
and paying higher fees.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Just that particular one is a pretty clear numbers issue, I think, on that front. Are there any, in addition to evaluation services, are there any other particular larger chunks that are represented in that district-wide number?
There was, the other, I'd say the major portion outside of those contract services as well as the sped transportation contracting services, because we didn't have drivers. So we had to contract out for those. So that's again, one of the balances in the district-wide as the unfilled driver positions. We had both 70 and CDLs last year. So
Would you
In
say
that-
those are the two biggest chunks of this number, evaluations and transportation
Correct.
services?
It's, and as a carryover, I can give you a real life update today. So we had a yellow bus driver, not the large yellow buses that you generally see on the road. Not, yeah, it's a medium size, not even a mini, it's a medium. We have two of those and we have one operating right now. We had a driver leave us just before the start of school. So we have just contracted and we have one of our 70, which is a van driver. 70 is just a license. The van driver going to get certified starting on October 10th. So they will then do their 60-hour training, do 60 hours some classroom and some driving, then take a test by a state trooper, similar like people would for their driving tests. And go from there. So then we're replenishing. So back to that, you know. So in the meantime, just so you see, you might know how this works anyway. So last year's, so right now we're sending some children through. We can cancel at any time, but we have another transportation firm, not Cosmetics, but driving those students who would need a wheelchair van or bus with the lift and everything. But once this person gets trained, let's hope, don't quote me, but maybe is it by Christmas? Who knows? A couple months, right? Then we can stop that service, that payment, and kaboom, put them on our bus. In that sense.
Other questions or discussion on item 4? Member Goodwin?
I think this just goes back to, whole transportation, how to figure it all out is the question. I went to looking through the strategic plan and there was, in 2023, there was supposedly, and I don't know if this actually happened, so Andy may be the only person who knows. In 2023, the strategic plan said that they did like looked at all the vans and created a, like when they were gonna be fixed or when they were gonna be updated or taken offline.
I would have to look into that. I'm not sure.
Okay, I mean, that, I just wasn't sure if that existed.
Whether or not that would rest with, because the maintenance department for the city does all that for
Okay.
the vehicle, so I'd have to I'll check with
I'll ask.
Teresa.
Okay.
Oh,
No, last year, so it was a vehicle study.
It's like-
Yeah, it's in the
It's already-
strategic
it's a-
plan
it's a-
for
it's
2023. Because before Christine DeBarge left, she told me to go to the strategic plan and look at transportation. So I went through that. And so I wasn't sure if she had done that. And then, you know, in 2028 was a full analysis of everything. So I was just trying to figure out
Okay.
where we were in that process that is outlined.
Mhm.
Just to see if the pieces were happening.
Mhm.
I think that will really right into the ongoing discussion with the.
They would answer
committee.
questions
Yeah,
for people.
that would be good. Other questions or discussion on this item? Okay. So I want to go on to item 5, and I'm going to aim for 15 minutes, you guys. And I'm sorry for trying to keep it chugging along here. I
Yep.
just want to be mindful of the time. Yeah. All right. So, so I just set a little timer to remind us. So this is about strategizing our stakeholder outreach plan for the FY27 budget development. So just a little recap. Last year, the school committee initiated an outreach process in order to implement our budget development policy, which is policy DBD in the manual, which stipulates that the committee will essentially engage with stakeholders in order to inform the budget development process. So we took a run at that last year, and what this subcommittee did was we sent an individual member to a meeting each of the PTOs at the different schools and the GHS school council, because there is no PTO for GHS, and also to the CPAC and the LPAC. And then we collated the feedback that we heard at each of those meetings, and that then it was transformed into a guidance document. So last year was the first year that Greenfield School Committee, or at least that I know of, established voted priorities in budget development. So that's how that process worked. And this item is for us to hash out or sketch out what our plan might be for this year to conduct similar stakeholder outreach. And what I'd like to be able to do is bring this on back to the full committee at our October meeting for approval of our plan. So I will open that one up for discussion. Do members have any ideas about how they might like to? Folks, a little hiccup in our internet, I think. Okay, so members, ideas, discussion in regards to how you might like to go about outreach, stakeholder input gathering for the year. Member Childs?
One thing I will say, so last year we simply emailed the PTOs asking, for a spot at specific meetings, and that ran into trouble with some of the PTOs who already had crowded calendars. So I would advise that we are very flexible in what we approve of, and we don't try to be too rigid, like the members of school committee will visit at November meetings, because that might not work for the specific PTOs.
Okay, we could put forth a more general form of outreach to PTOs and say that we're happy to send a member to a meeting if they would like, or they're welcome to send us feedback by email or any other type of input that they might like to offer, and just let them know that we value their input and would like to have it in the development of the budget. Member Goodwin?
Just a question, are there school councils still at the schools?
Required by law.
Wow, well, it's Greenfield, so I decided I would ask the question.
So
Because they're usually the people who deal with budget stuff.
my experience with school councils is that they have been mostly defunct. So they technically exist, but don't necessarily really meet except for GHS. And I think the GHS one is more
They become
alive
advisory,
because there isn't a PTO.
And they become more advisory. So they're required to happen, but when they first started with that reform, they had a finger in, a strong finger in even approving budgets and improving field trips. I remember in Springfield where they could approve whether you were going on an out-of-state field trip. And then I think the state realized like, wait, this is getting to be a little too much like overseeing. So then they pulled back where they became more advisory. Or that, and now you can get input, you said through PTO, if you have an active PTO, they might act as a little of a school council-ish by recommendations and things like that, but.
In real life, I think the PTOs have been fairly active
Mhm.
at the schools, except for GHS. The
Right.
GHS school council does meet and on a regular basis, and it's sort of is like the stand-in kind of for that, I guess. The other school councils, it seems like it's been hard to drum up participation. I think that it's really hard for people to. We do know that there is no video. I think that might be challenging. Hold on, we're just going to pause because individual on the Zoom has noted that there isn't a video. I don't. You're not going to get the whole room unless we. Can we move that without
Yep, stay there.
making anything dysfunctional?
So.
Okay, so thank you, Jimmy, for your note. We're talking about school councils. So yeah, school councils haven't been too active. It's been difficult, I think, to get people to turn up. It's a lot to ask for people to come to school committee meetings and subcommittee meetings and PTO and school council and their kids' activities and all the things that they also have to do. So yeah, I don't know. That's just my
So I will ask.
conjecture.
No.
So the school improvement plans on the website are about 5 years old.
Mhm.
Because I wrote the last one for Newton, so they haven't been updated since the pandemic. So I was wondering if we even have the ones.
As of today, no, you don't have.
No, I mean, like, if there are new ones that just haven't been uploaded, like a school improvement plan for each school.
Oh, that were done like the last year?
Or anything for like 5 years ago. I was just gonna say that.
So I wasn't here, so I will check. I will check for you.
I would ask for you to
Yeah.
do.
I will check.
They may exist and just not have been uploaded, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because that's supposed to drive everything, the zip drives the dip, drives the evaluation process,
Yep.
right?
That's good to know. I've noticed the same thing. So
So-
big question.
I'm like, I wrote that.
Mhm.
So, in terms of budget development outreach, how about, I will just throw this out there. Would we like to send out an outreach message to each of the PTOs, CPAC, LPAC, and we can send to all of these school principals in regards to the school councils as well,
Mhm.
if they are
Yes.
having a meeting, and offer along the lines of what member Child suggested, which would to offer to send a member to receive feedback or input in person, and also just invite them to share their input in regards to FY27 budget development, however they would like, and that we're interested in that. Okay. Are there any additional actions that members would like to see or things that you'd like to suggest?
I think it would be a good idea if we designate one person to receive the feedback emails just for organizational purposes.
Okay. Okay. I will do that unless someone else wants to. Hands up now if you do. All right. Any other suggestions, additions? Okay. All right. So then I will put that forward to the school committee and ask for approval of that at our October meeting. I think members should anticipate if we are going out to attend a meeting, like last year, for example, I attended a meeting of CPAC and one of LPAC. I'm going to anticipate doing that if they would like me to, either late October or in November, because that is also the time when the executive leadership team is requesting and receiving back requests from their building administrators. Right. Yeah. So that would be the ideal time to get that kind of input so that we can have that all put together for our second set of budget guidelines to be voted on come January. So we'll be able to discuss it in December, vote in January. Okay. Yep. All right. Great. Hey, we made it under time. Love it. Next item is item 6. Identify next steps toward adopting a rubric for annual budget document improvement. So in July, just to go back a step before that. So the committee has had a longstanding desire and discussion towards improving budget documents so that they're more digestible, more understandable for folks. And in our previous meeting, we discussed one potential rubric and then also other general ideas about the improvement of our annual budget document. So in our materials for that July meeting was information about the Association of School Business Officials Meritorious Budget Award, which is a rubric by which one could seek to improve their budget document. And there were also examples of budget documents from other districts that have achieved that award. Now, Greenfield is not a member of ASBO, as far as I know. So if we wish to do that formally, I believe we would have to decide to join. Is that correct?
There's a member rate if you were to choose.
There is not. Okay. And either way, I mean, the committee would just need to make some decisions if we decided to go with that one. Now, it's been a couple of months. I don't know if folks have had a chance to go looking for other rubrics that they might use. Any other suggestions or things that people would like to bring up?
Well, I know that you had mentioned and given us copies of Palmetto that you wanted to see things like that. Yeah. And we were planning on, I don't want to say copying it, right, but modeling.
I started to go down the road of taking the 25 budget document and merging it into the Long Meadow.
That format, right,
yeah.
Yes.
Is it pretty much all the information that is in the Long Meadow one we do have? It's between both the former superintendent's PowerPoint and the long detailed sheets that we have. So but before I went any further, I just wanted to make sure I didn't want to start constantly going down a road of
that was going to change,
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's doable, I guess.
That's great. I think people are looking for The taxpayers in town are looking for something that's easy to read and to understand where their money is going. And so when I browsed through all the different budgets, and I just randomly picked districts that I thought were close to our size, because a big city is very different than, and Long Meadows was simple. You knew how many first grade teachers, you knew how many teachers in each school, what was the cost of the staff. It was broken down so people could really understand where the money was going. You know, the challenge is when a budget looks different, like if it's all clumped together, the staff is all clumped together, and you're not quite sure like what that represents. Like, is there 2 second grade teachers and 3 first grade teachers? So the detail, I think, is what people want to see. And they want to feel that. And that's true throughout the city. It's not just the schools. I mean, it's the city budget, it's the school budget. And I'm one of those people. I mean, when you go to pay your taxes, and our taxes are very high, you want to know what you're paying. And that's kind of an important thing. And I think I liked Long Meadows because it seemed simple. It seemed clear. You could see the cost of each school. You could see that information, and that was one I liked. So I that was just my favorite one. But I guess, what are the benefits of us joining MASPO? You know, what would we get for that? Is there any losses?
I'm a member of ASBO, I'm not a
Right.
member. Except as a membership. It's a discussion for another time. So, I mean, I get all the stuff from ASBO
Okay.
as an individual company. I mean, it's got a wealth of information. Quite honestly, it's got a wealth of information that if you just Google,
Okay.
you know, school budgets
Okay.
and school budget best practices, you could find various sources in the public domain out there. So, you know, all our practices, for what it's worth, you know, and we take from, I'm a member of ASBO, I'm a certified government finance manager by the Association of Government Accountants. So I've got the national from ASBO's, you know, SFO licensure, which comes with a lot of other resources at our disposal that we use. So, and then I'll say, like, the document that we have used, despite the criticism of it, has been cited as an exemplar from the state's accountability agency. That's where I took it from when I was with the EQA. That was designed by a former business manager, CPA member of Mullins and Heath and stuff. So, but you know, it's not for everybody. I get it. So it shows everything, you know, and then now we have added to the column regarding the personnel. But you know, I mean, there's all different ways. So the resources are there, you know, as far as joining it and to go for the meritorious budget award. Personally, I mean, you know, look at the districts that do get it. They've got their own, you know, full-time marketing printing staff. The staff to be able, I can provide. I mean, you're looking through all the meritorious budget where all the financial information is there. You know, it's just a matter of, quite honestly, the narrative side of those types of things where, you know, and for those districts that have gone for it, you can't just, quite honestly, say, okay, Newton School, write your narrative for the budget, you know, Federal Street, write your narrative, because then you're going to want to have it. You will not get the award if it's not all written in. You know, everything, like, as if somebody, you know, we all have our different writing styles. And so if you write a different writing style from one school to another, one administrator to another, you're not going to get it.
Okay.
You know, so it's things like that that are, again, very, you know, it's a worthy endeavor to choose should you want to devote the efforts and for the staff to go ahead and do that. And I'm not even necessarily concerned finance, because the numbers are the numbers. You know,
Right.
that's, I'm gonna say it's cumbersome, but for all intents and purposes, it's easy enough. You export everything into Excel and we can manipulate it 6 ways till Sunday. You know, it's really the narrative side of the equation that is where
It's really a
the effort.
presentation.
Correct.
It's the story.
So, correct me if I'm looking at the wrong thing, but These are Long Meadow's budget documents for FY '25. So there is this PowerPoint
I think it was an old one I had.
and then each
Each school.
spreadsheet is, they have their spreadsheets broken down
Right.
different ways.
That's what you had given us, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Given them something.
Okay, I just want to make sure I'm looking at
And
the
that's what
correct
Andy-
thing.
We had their cover sheet. That's what Andy
Okay,
provides. It was the actual breakdown. So you could see the staffing, you could see the number of children, you could see even the money, like maintenance, you know, in the building and everything else. It was the detail of each building, which I think in Greenfield, that's important. Some of our buildings are older than others. I mean, that's just the way of the world.
so as if I recall correctly, we basically said that line items like that can be incorporated into the budget, no problem. I want to show, because this, for some people that would work. And then for other people, they look at a spreadsheet and go, panic. I don't understand this. It's like number and word salad. So it's really intimidating for some folks to look at. And it's also fairly time consuming, especially if you're not used to looking at a document like this in order to start making heads or tails of it. Which is why these things get paired with something like a PowerPoint that has these more truncated pieces of information put into more of a graphic kind of presentation. And we have that. We do that every year. However, that seems like it has not been enough, not adequate for certain folks, particularly folks on city council who would like to have something more in depth than a PowerPoint. So I took a look. I passed out some materials there. This is just something because I need to see things in front of my face with like Greenfield on it in order to see how I feel about it. So
Teacher.
I took basically the format of some budget books from other districts that do have the MBA or have had at one point. And just tried to mock up a format of what it might look if Greenfield produced a budget book rather than our usual spreadsheets and PowerPoint for our annual budget document. Now, this amounted to, I stopped at like page 29 or something because I didn't want to put too much effort into something that we will not necessarily do. But in order to achieve the MBA, or even if you're not trying to necessarily achieve the award, but you're just trying to use that rubric to improve your document, then you would include 4 basic sections, which are outlined here in this table of contents, which begins with an executive summary. And that's probably where most people would go to and stop there, unless they really wanted more nitty gritty. So I just tried to mock up what it would look like if we had a book like this and what the executive summary section might start to look like. So there's no numbers in here. This is just,
It's good.
just like a format, basically. So it would begin. Superintendent, if I email this to you, can you toss it up there on the screen?
No.
No? Okay.
You have the
Oh,
computer in front of you right there.
yes, but it's connected to your,
No. it's
Chromebook?
That's connected right there.
I don't think,
No, I'm telling you. That
Okay.
that keyboard.
sorry, I'm such a Luddite.
That's the computer up there.
Yes, but is this
It's not linked to her.
not
No,
linked
it's
to
not
my
linked.
laptop?
No, it's not.
No, right,
It's a standalone computer.
It's okay.
okay,
It's okay.
sorry, folks.
This looks.
Member Childs, you have this in your email as additional materials.
Yes, I got that from you today.
Okay, so members can look at this and this will get added to materials uploaded to the website for folks to look at later if they would. Okay, so it would begin basically with a breakdown of the school committee and the district administration and ways that folks can connect with those people. Thank you, Andy. It would be followed by the superintendent's message, which is like a letter from the superintendent that begins the whole thing. And then these are just topics that I saw that were common to these executive summaries that would then be covered in here. So a summary of overall FY 27 or whatever you're doing, spending, increase, drivers, Chapter 70 aid, local contribution offsets, things like that. Revenue changes and cost increases, new budget initiatives, strategies that were used to balance the budget, areas to watch, which gets at larger pressures that the school district faces, like what may be coming down the pike in terms of federal funding and then also enrollment and things like that. And then there would be, this would be a graphic breakdown. So like Andy was saying, there's like a lot of footwork that would be involved in design for this because it makes things more understandable for folks. Rather than just putting spreadsheets in front of people, it would be a document that has charts, graphs, narratives that go with them, things like that to explain things like FY 27 revenues and budgeted expenses. And I think it's helpful to keep design in mind, like with these things that are more like a spreadsheet, when they have color design that's used to help people differentiate between those lines, then it looks less like a onslaught of numbers. It makes it easier to digest. And I really liked some of the graphics that I saw because they're different. They kind of get your attention and they make it easier to understand, like staffing. If you want your staffing history over the past few fiscal years and what you're looking at now, if you put it in a graph that has actual people, then that just sort of helps to get that idea in your head anyway. Yeah, I'll just stop there. I don't know. I like the idea of producing a budget book, but I also know that it's
A lot of work.
a lot of work, and I'm happy for this subcommittee to sit here and help do that work. But I wanted to just get people's impressions, opinions on producing a document like that.
I think I love that. And I too like the graphics. I think the most impressionable budget presentation I ever saw was Buzz Numbercow and his pie charts. Kind of scared me with all of his pie charts, but they were powerful, and it was a Greenfield presentation. And because it really hit hard where the money was going in a pictorial way. And so as a taxpayer, I knew exactly, like, that was, I mean, he was blunt. Everything else was grant-based. He was not spending any money on, except on people, pretty much. And he showed you that. And transportation at that time wasn't so bad because they had paid schools. And all our schools were open at that time. So a lot of kids walked to school or rode a bike. They used to brag about that. Greenfield was like braggy. And so I think I love this, and I love the breakdown. And I think the breakdown allows us that every year we can see it. Okay, we lost a teacher at this school, we gained a teacher here. I mean, when it's all clumped together, you can't see the changes. And I think even whoever's looking at it, whether it's a city council person or somebody who's just worried about their taxes, you know, like 1 year it was like, we're gonna cut a Spanish teacher. So everybody got upset and wanted the Spanish teacher put back, but the Spanish teacher wasn't put back, and that would have showed up. But what did get put back when that money was put back in the budget? So what I'm saying is, each time we go through this crisis of cutting school budgets and all of that pain, if you can actually see it this way and in numbers, you have a better sense of why it's happening, instead of it's just some mean person is cutting the money. I mean, it's really, really real. And I think that is necessary in Greenfield, and it's necessary for city side and school side for all of us to know, like, all the debt that Greenfield is in, I want the numbers. We owe money on the library, we owe money on the fire station, we owe, right? We still owe, the $66 million high school, we're still paying $2 million off every year. All of that, as somebody who writes a check of my blood and sweat money, and I worked for Greenfield Public Schools. So, I mean, part of it is really knowing where that is. And I think there is a call for that in this community, because we are all very frustrated by our taxes, and what we're paying.
Okay.
So I think this is great.
Yay, okay.
And where Andy is great too. I think the two go together. But again, we're a small district. This would go into a hand of a business office. In South Hadley, we had somebody who just did the book with the superintendent, who did all the writing for the book.
Yeah.
And it was a huge binder, and it was passed around. It was like the worst Christmas nightmare of my career. It was due before we could leave for Christmas. It was my budget book. Andy Walzak had to have her budget book. I couldn't have Christmas. And justify every expenditure. There were forms. I still have it. And it's like the most scary binder you've ever seen. But what I'm saying is, the process is part of the journey too. I'm used to zero-based budgeting, taking inventory, doing all of that. Greenfield's never engaged in that process. So I think that's a future thing but I think this is a great start. A really great start. I mean, Roland's only here for a year. So we've already broken his arm.
Yeah.
So and Andy's fingers at risk. So I think we have to be careful.
I think we got our start last year by forming a budget development calendar for the first time. And now we have it for the second time. That can go right in here without having to produce a new additional document. I was thinking of your comments and some of the questions that we get sometimes about staffing and things like that. When I was looking through these books and going like, how could we present something about staffing that's really
Real.
digestible, real. And I think that graphics like this are very helpful for people who are visual. And then also, like you were saying, one of the things that you don't really get out of your current year documents is the look back over time, like you were saying.
And
so
that's
that
really
people can
important.
see change.
If we get 50 more children and we have to hire another teacher, or another child goes out of district and we lose some funding, I mean, all of that is the history of our schools. And if we're trying to improve them, we have to look at where we need to and to put the money to make them better.
Yeah.
So I think it's important.
I think it helps people breathe too, because when you look at trends over time, it's usually less alarming than.
And Greenfield has a
like
history, the bankruptcy story, that was big.
Right.
Yeah, then they rebuilt. Now we're kind of like, here we are again. So trying to rebuild. And so this is where we're starting from. This is kind of the story, beginning story.
Right.
5 years from now, hopefully the story completely changes.
Yes. Member Childs, you have a hand up, and I'm not sure if I have to click view or not.
Oh, it's fine. It should be just when I talk. I was just waiting to come off of mute. Something that Member Goodwin said that really struck me is that we do only have Roland for 1 year. Whoever we get in next as the permanent superintendent will likely have had their own experiences, their own style. So maybe what we want to do is less of a this is the exact format and more of a list of here are the things that must be in it, if that makes sense. Things like the monetary breakdowns that Mel was talking about.
Let's, I agree with that. It puts us in a really challenging spot to be in this position where our previous superintendent left. And we have an interim that's just for now. We also have not been able to attract a staff business manager, which the committee's been trying to do for a while. And we deeply appreciate what Andy does for us and puts up with us from us in the meantime. But it just makes it difficult because ideally you would be taking on a project like this with a superintendent who with long past and hopefully long future, longevity with the district, and your staff business manager has the ability to devote all of their attention to you, to your district, and we don't have that right now. So
Also, I do think that your example is very nice, and I don't want to. I could take the easy way out, jokingly say, "Hey, that's a great idea. Wait till the next guy or next lady comes to do that." But on the flip side too, whatever we start here,
It's the beginning.
the process, right, is not about the person in the seat. It's about what what you being the school committee, right, want the position to do. So if the position starts something this year, and I'm not saying whole hog into it, but then the next person in the position continues the
It
work.
gets better.
what if we were to attempt to produce just an executive summary for FY27? Normally, a budget book like this, it would incorporate, in addition to an executive summary section, also an organizational section, a financial section. And that financial section would include all these additional like subcategories, and then location budget, and then you would have an informational section as well. That's 4 different major sections. What if we were to attempt just to create the first one? The first section. My understanding from having been through a workshop, learning about the ASBO MBA program was that this is, even if we were to do that formally, it would be a multi-year project. School districts don't just like wave their magic wand and get this in order in a year.
The only one I would think might be hard would be the trends and projections, unless Andy can pull up the past. I mean, I don't know.
We only have, like, Munis only goes back, it is on our budget document. We
Yep.
only can keep 3 years
Okay,
of history.
okay.
Projections, my only caveat about projections is that,
That's,
well, there's several of those caveats, but also along the lines of being held to it.
Okay.
Because I've been in places where as soon as we make it public, and if there's $1,000 deviation from that, it was, you guys don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing.
Right.
I'm all for. I mean, we've got models already in place where we, if you have your current staffing, just like have them actually go through the entire salary schedule all the way out to 2030. That's something that I build just by, because it always helps with negotiations. You've seen what it looks like.
Yeah.
Negotiations. So, but then it's just the other variables, and then you never know how negotiations are going to go.
Right.
All those other things, and with the transient community we have, they're also a thing where one of the things that I've heard, and I've adopted it from training to Florida, so it actually is long range planning in some communities is you.
Yeah.
And that's a challenge as far as it goes. So
Right.
I'm all for it. But at the same time, it's
To get the majority.
are there enough, we could end up having enough variables that what is the value in it? To sort of say that and quote the value
Right.
because well, we got this variable here that we factored the variable, so.
Right.
Do you start to lose the integrity of the forecast? All these other variables that are
Right.
just so
Right.
variable in nature. That's
I was thinking that when I was looking at this chart, I think I was looking at Worcester. And that's what this budget trends page is based off of. And they have these 3 years projected in regards to revenues, expenditures, and they break down expenditures 2 different ways. It's page 22. And I was thinking the same thing. Well, what happens in Worcester when it differs from what they projected? Because that there will be
Trouble.
some folks in the gallery saying, "But you said it was going to be this, and that's your second time."
Yeah.
So how I don't know how you. I think projections are actually required as part of the NPA, and I don't know how districts balance that.
I think we can get most of the first executive session, because a lot of it is just organizational. Actually,
You're talking about this first yellow,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
a lot of it is. Like, some of it you can come right off the state website, class size, all that stuff.
Everything in this whole packet would be executive section stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't even finish.
It's worth a
that.
try.
So this would produce something that's probably, I don't know, like 35, 40-ish pages. But a lot of that is things that are broken down visually for folks. So the narratives can and should be kept relatively concise, so that it meets the needs of folks who are more literal, folks who are more visual, just kind of meet people where they are. What if we, I didn't even click.
That's all right.
This has to touch this. The kids taught me that.
We still see and hear you fine.
Okay. We don't see you, but okay. So, how about this? Why don't we put this on the table again for our next meeting? And when we come back, let's talk more specifically about listing items for an executive summary. Yeah? Okay, that would give folks time to go back, run through other budget books, see what they like, what they don't like, and just come back with specific ideas just to create that one section.
And is this one somewhat of a Worcester-ish?
This is Worcester-ish. Yeah, Worcester has a beautiful budget book, and they also have like an entire department of like 9 financial analysts, because they're huge.
Right.
And we don't have that, when this has to be doable for Greenfield. But it is Worcester-ish, yeah. Member Childs, what do you think of that idea?
I think that's a good idea.
Yes. Member Goodwin, are you good with that?
Absolutely.
All right, very good. Then I do not remember that particular parliamentary procedure. Do I need to move to lay something on the table?
I think we're good.
I don't think so.
You've introduced this.
Yeah, it just said discussion on the agenda. There's no vote. So, okay, very good then. So we will move on then to our last item, which is number 7, discussion of the superintendent's recommendations on capital improvement priorities, which will come up for approval by the school committee in October. So how are we looking? What is coming?
Have there was a facilities capital plan that you've had, I said you would being Greenfield, right? Recently, and some of the things that would be upcoming potentially this year, I did speak with Mike Boudreau, our facilities director. And he went through and showed me some of the things that had been done or some things that are still on the table. And he'll have a final one next week, obviously to present forward, but some of the things that are being looked at would be potential middle school awning roof replacement by the gym doors. That's at the back over there. That's a potential $30,000. Some of these are not final figures and they're not even final asks. I'm just giving you.
Sure. So it's the awning over. the
Yeah,
door.
it is. The Federal Street parking lot paving, the city had approved $75,000 for that. No. But that cost is about roughly 200. He believes it would be in that range. So there would still be money for that. The Greenfield High School lighting control system update. So they have, when the school was built, you may have heard, while not as bad as what you was having down at Minnetonka High School. You may have heard when those lights were on for 3 years.
Yeah.
And would be shut off.
Yes.
You know,
Not what you want to end up on channel 22.
no, or Saturday Night Live, right?
Yeah.
For that, is
Yeah.
what they ended up on.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah, so similarly, we do not have our lights on overnight. But I think we have components of that same system in that type of scenario, so something would have to be done at some point prior to getting to that point. where-
Is it under warranty?
I
mean,
can't answer that question.
I mean,
I can check,
because,
you
okay,
know,
and I know there's still funds.
but
that
I'm
project?
almost gonna say, if he's asking for this, I don't want to answer definitively, but that it's not under warranty if he's
So
asking.
another follow-up question about this.
Mhm.
My understanding from last year's discussions in regards to capital improvement was that there was a small amount of money left from construction of the high school
Okay.
that could potentially be repurposed for certain things. And this sounds like maybe it would be in that, potentially in that category. And I don't know what the answer
Mhm.
was to that. So that would be helpful to know.
And there might be somebody on building sites who would be willing to go to the mat to address the fact that this is not okay. Here we are, still paying for a brand new school and something's not right. As somebody who's been on building and sites, I still,
Mhm.
yeah. You sit there and you listen to everybody tell you, yeah, everything's gonna be fine, they lie. So,
So that's potential, maybe $50,000. There are some gutter repairs at AEL, potentially 10,000, exterior painting, possibly 30,000. There is some work at the Greenfield High School track. That's about almost 10, 11 years old now, just painting and maintenance repair on track. Tracks generally lifestyle is around that 10, 12-year range. For that, we have an inspection of roofs happening this week, some tomorrow for AEL and Newton. Water leakage, all type of generic flat roofs in New England, right? As you can
for roofers.
imagine. And general floor covering replacement. And a lot of places for carpet, right? Whether it's, are we replacing, the discussion would have to be held. Carpets with carpet squares, which are easily replaceable, or are we replacing carpet and putting flooring similar to ECT? Or other things down, which generally tends to be the trend right now, going away from carpets and possible truck with a plow. In that sense, and I say possible for plowing. So those are some of the things that are on the list, and we'll have more of a, say, graph for you or chart. Yes.
Second one.
Mhm.
Okay, so do you have a sense right now in regard of which of those things cannot wait and which of those things could potentially be pushed for a year?
I can get you the priority status, and
Yeah.
we'll do that as a priority. Roofs obviously would be very important, right? Roofs, paving, any type of safety things with flooring inside of a building, right? Parking lots, we can all complain about it, but we can all drive over the potholes slowly. And I joke, but right? But yes and no, right? It all
Yeah,
depends.
yeah.
That's always the discussion with all of our things is there's a finite amount of money, right? An infinite amount of jobs to do.
Right.
That we know that. and what's more important than the next, right? When we talk about some of the things
yeah.
we'll bring about at our regular school committee meetings, and when you're cutting X, Y, and Z positions, and you had to do that last year and create a budget. And then we want to try new things. Do we want to spend X amount of dollars for this little program? Is that program more important than a human being? And I'm not saying that anybody's more important, but the discussion, the discussion has to be held, right? Oh, are we saving trash, or are we hiring a human being so your kid can read? I mean, in that sense, and I know that it can be swayed either way. You and I know that, right? But that's the reality is there's only so much money. So I'll talk with Mike Woodrow, our facilities director, and I will not only, obviously, we'll have a chart for you, but we'll prioritize as well.
Okay. I'm also just thinking about the general distribution. It seems like things are, just from the sound of it, fairly evenly distributed around the buildings in terms of repairs and cost, except for Federal Street. We all know we had a very big cost there for the elevator.
Yes.
That was very
160.
recent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just closed out and inspected.
Yeah. And now there's this very expensive parking lot that needs to get done. And I imagine.
And
And that's
Annual
been
thing,
waiting
so.
for a couple of
It
years.
has been.
That's been talked
And,
about.
and
for a
as,
long
as
time.
Mike mentioned, some money has been allocated, not
Yes.
enough to cover it. Federal
So
Street would
just
also be
add-
in line for many of the flooring issues that we've talked
Yeah.
about, I guess, on the upper levels. Many of their rooms are, don't quote me,
Yep.
say hardwood or flooring, but then half is carpet.
Right,
That's
it's
what
time
I'm
for the
considering.
carpet to go.
And it's time for the
I was
carpet to
gonna
either
say.
be replaced or to go.
And it was
Yes.
a bit of time, the carpet was 50
Right,
years old.
right.
Yes.
Yeah, there was quite the litany of things that needed to get done at Federal Streets, which was all kind of overshadowed by the elevator. But it seems like in terms of our buildings and high needs, like Federal Street is up there.
Yes, with
Priority.
the age and,
Priority one.
right, was the original Greenfield High, or not, maybe not the original, but one of the early ones.
Okay, just wanted to get a sense of that. That's it. We're not, this is a discussion for the whole committee to have and make approval for, it come October, our October meeting. But, do members have other questions right now, in regards to capital? Member Childs?
I just have a quick one for something that went before capital planning last year and I don't think got approved. It had to do with the nurse's office at Four Corners and its accessibility. Are there any updates on that, or is that just something that we're pushing down the road?
My recollection is that there was about $30,000-ish worth of work that needed to get done in order to make the nurse's office accessible there. And in addition to that, there is also a 15-year-old ADA complaint about accessibility at the back of the building there. And we need to fix that as well. And I don't recall a ballpark cost on that.
I do not.
I don't know if we even had one, but I do know we did on the nurse's office, which is outdated now and would need to be updated in terms of what that would cost.
Should have a walkthrough.
So we can get you a updated projected cost.
Member Goodman?
So the nurse's office has come up at other small elementary schools as well.
Mhm.
And moving the nurse's office to another space, which is ADA compliant, has happened at other schools. So that should be something that should be looked at Four Corners as well. The teacher's room is right next door to the office and it has a bathroom and a sink. It would be unpopular to move the teacher's room, but there are other spaces that could become the teacher's room, and that would be ADA.
So that would be good in terms of follow.
So a walkthrough maybe.
I don't,
You gotta build
Yeah.
stairs off the back, that's gonna be.
if there's a workaround for the nurse's office, that's great. Because then in terms of ameliorating the back of the building,
You gotta have a ramp too.
Andy, do you remember this? Do we need to build a ramp?
I forget how that worked, I think it was.
It's summer school there, you need a ramp.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I believe one of the complications for the back had to do with needing to regrade the land in order to accommodate, so it
Awesome.
would be
Yeah.
a pretty big project.
That's why there was no ballpark on it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So any follow-up information about that would be
Yep.
great. It nettles for me to have an ADA complaint that's just sitting there open for ages, and obviously there's no enforcement. Not that I'm calling, anybody down on our heads, but like, that's, as a parent of kids with disabilities, not okay. We
Right.
need to be addressing it.
Well, each time we have a CPR audit, they come in and they work. So I don't remember the last time we had that. So it's every 3 years, so.
Other capital related questions or discussions?
So do we have the plow? I guess we have one? Don't we have one?
We have plows, yes.
Okay.
We have two, is my understanding, there's an unusable small car, maybe a Ford Focus or something. And there are two plows, two trucks, I don't know the exact ages of them
Okay.
in that sense. And there's one maintenance, but we're hiring another maintenance person with one left. And then if that happened, then Mike, wouldn't have it, or one of them is old, but we'd have rationale for all that. As you know, I'm coming through the door, so I don't have all the history, unfortunately, but I can bring you the people with the history for that.
Other questions or discussion about capital?
So all the elevators have been fixed, correct?
The one that was broken
Just
was
checking.
fixed. See, the history, you're trying to.
All about the
It's
elevators.
a trick question for me.
All right, so the elevator AEL works, correct?
I don't know of any elevator problems.
Okay. Federal Street's been talked about for 10 years, maybe longer. And the one at the high school works, I used it. And the one at the middle school is currently functioning. Then,
Yeah, we hear about it. There are issues.
okay,
All right, I'm not gonna suggest, there's not enough information right now to, make a recommendation about, capital. We'll just cover all of this at the October meeting. So with that said, it's 4:43. We are right on time, which is amazing because we left, we got started rather a little bit late. So I would take a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Okay, I'll second it.
second,
Okay, I'm gonna call that 1 and 2. All right,
whatever you need.
okay, I'm gonna make a roll call because we have somebody online, so I say yes. And Member Goodwin, is that a yes?
Yes.
Oh, Member Child.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone. We are adjourned at 4:44 p.m.